Hey guys, so today I'm going to be reviewing Alter Bridge's fifth studio album, The Last Hero. Now, this comes after Fortress. We saw Fortress, Alter Bridge kind of experimented with different song structures, a couple twists and turns, kind of experimenting um, with their sound, but definitely with their arrangements. Um, and we're gonna kind of see if Last Hero is a kind of a logical progression from Fortress. Um, hopefully it's not too out of left field or anything. It just kind of logically makes sense. Um, and then another thing to note is that Mark and Miles have taken full on side projects. Miles with Slash and Mark with his solo band Tremonti. So we're gonna kind of talk about how hopefully that doesn't affect the music because when all is said and done, they're basically full time in two bands, which is a lot to which can be a lot to handle. So I've written down the tracks so I don't forget one. So if I look over to the side here, that's what I'm doing so I don't forget any of the tracks. So let's just kind of jump right into it. The first track is called Show Me a Leader. See, it's a good thing I have the tracks written down. Show Me a Leader. This was the first single, and it's a pretty good choice for a first single. Kind of definitely is a good way to introduce you to the album. Lyrically, it's very interesting. It's very current to what was going on, at least in the United States. The presidential election was in full swing, and two candidates that you either loved or hated. But I'm not gonna really get into that. It's a very song of the times, but it's still very good. The intro kind of that Miles come up with is very good. He's not playing the main riff for like at any part of the intro, which I thought was pretty cool. Um, it's definitely kind of like it builds up and then kind of Mark hits you with that riff, and then Scott with his drum pattern. It just kind of soars. It's a fantastic start to the album, and yeah, great track one. Um, Track number two is called "Writing on the Wall," and this is another great song. Miles said it's about global warming, but kind of the denial of global warming. But it can be about anything you want. It's a very solid song. I mean, the solo, there's a riff that's like just before the solo. I believe Mark is playing it. It's very good. Just a just an all around solid song. I don't have a lot to say about it. Just the fact that I like it. It's very solid. So track three is called "The Other Side." This is a this is where we get to some interesting, different territory. Definitely different for an Alter Bridge song. It's very dark and moody, but a different kind of dark than you got on like AB3. Um, very dark and moody. The main riff is very muddy. It's very like almost doom metal sounding. It's kind of about kind of the other side of the afterlife, kind of the other side that no one wants to talk about, but it kind of needs to be discussed. That type of thing. It's very good. If you believe that yours is the only way, then you're the fool. It's it's very kind of blunt, and I can definitely appreciate it because I'm not going to get into my personal beliefs too much, but the kind of the other side that no one wants to talk about kind of needs to be addressed, and for that, I give kudos to Alter Bridge. It's a pretty good song. It's not one of my favorites, but I appreciate it like objectively, if that makes sense. So the next song on the album is called My Champion. Um, this is a very good song. It's definitely the polar opposite of the other side. Um, it's kind of it's very uplifting. It's kind of your classic kind of motivational, uplifting Alter Bridge song. They kind of have one every album at least, something along those lines. It's very it doesn't really cross that cheesy realm for mostly it's handled well. Um, you know, just because you've missed your shot doesn't mean that like another one won't come along, or um, like just because you're not defined by your mistakes, just kind of where you go from here, where you go forward. Very very good song. Mark's backing vocals and the chorus is very good. It adds kind of that little bit extra to the song. Very very good song. Um, Next song on the album is Poison Your Veins. And this is interesting because Miles actually said that this was going to be the first single. And I don't know if it was like the record company or what happened, but Show Me a Leader was chosen to be the first single. This very much sounds like a first single. It's kind of what you expect from Alter Bridge as a first single. It's very um, it's very heavy. It's very the lyrics are just kind of they're very good. They're very uplifting. I don't get a lost for words there. The solo is very good by Mark. Kind of you know whatever is kind of getting in your way, like why are you letting it get in your way type of thing. Very very good song. Like I said, very good solo by Mark. Probably one of the highlights of the song. Very very good song. It sounds like it could have been their first single. um track number Track number 6, sorry y'all. Track number 6 is called Cradle to the Grave, and this is very like pulls on your heartstrings kind of song. Um, Starts with like fading kind of horns, and then that acoustic guitar that Miles is playing. You could tell that this is a very personal song to Miles. Kind of references his childhood. And things like that. Even though it's kind of like the other side for me, even though it's not one of my favorite songs on the album, it's still something that I can appreciate objectively. I like the line, "Nothing lasts forever, nothing stays the same." Just kind of once again that harsh reality that like no one wants to talk about, but this is how it is, and like this is what you can prepare for. You can either just not think about it, or it's going to happen one day, so just kind of like make the best of it. And it's very fitting that that's like the last part that we hear from the song until the song just ends. Like I said, it's very um, Miles is talking about like his childhood and his parents, and you can tell it's very personal to him, and um, pretty good song. I like it. Um, Next song on the album is called Losing Patience, and whereas this could be seen as filler, I like this song a lot. I mean, it's pretty good. I like it. I enjoy it. The riff is very bouncy. Um, Not a negative way. You're just gonna have to kind of go listen to it. It's very bouncy. It kind of like makes you just kind of want to bounce your head in a good way. Um, in this, it's kind of in the vein of like Poison Your Veins. Lyrically, it's kind of losing patience is kind of, people see that as like a negative thing, But, how long are, if you're finally losing patience, like if you're finally fed up with the way things are, then like go and change it. For a person that procrastinates and kind of puts things off, this is very very good song. It kind of connects with me well. I like the song a lot. It's kind of that wake up kind of slap in the face kind of song. It's very good, and even though it didn't have a solo, like I said, some people see it as filler. I like it. So next song on the album is This Side of Fate, and this is another very good, interesting song. We talked about in the beginning of the video how this follows the album Fortress, and Fortress was kind of progressive, kind of dealt with, kind of saw them experimenting with different song structures and kind of different twists and turns. And this definitely is an extension of that. Very very progressive, very much takes you on a couple of twists and turns. The first solo that Miles gives on here, about a quarter of the way through, halfway through, is very good. Anytime Miles does a solo on this album, it's pretty damn good. Yeah, and then it just switches like musical direction completely. A lot of people say this is Muse inspired. I'm not a huge Muse fan, but I can kind of hear it. It just like switches musical direction, and it does it well. It doesn't like it is sudden, but it's not just like, whoa, where'd that come from? Like, it doesn't like knock you off your feet. You can still like, it still flows well, and you can like still just listen to the song as a whole, and appreciate it for what it is. Yeah, it's, This Side of Fate is blind. Like, kind of no one really knows, kind of where we go, because we don't have anyone to ask. It's very, I know that sounds like really weird, but this is all just kind of off the top of my head. Thoughts, y'all, if you can't, if you don't know already, I'm winging this. So, it's very, very powerful. The entire song is just very, very powerful, and it just kind of goes to prove that Alter Bridge isn't just kind of regurgitating their albums. They're definitely kind of moving forward in a positive, how can we make this different but still sound like Alter Bridge, and this song is another great example of that. So the next song on the album is You Will Be Remembered, and this is kind of the filler song on the album to me. Excuse me. Whether you agree with me or not, that's okay. It's kind of just like I have to be in the right mood to listen to this song. It's very it's very uplifting, and You Will Be Remembered. It tells you right there in the title. It's like a tribute to like everyone that like you've lost, that you wish you could have more time with, or everyone you lost you wish you could have more time with, or like say more things to, don't leave things unspoken because you might regret it. It's a good song. It kind of sounds like it could be it sounds like it could be a radio single, but not a radio single that I would be like jumping for joy for. I mean, it's a good song. It's a solid song. I skip it occasionally. I still listen to it. Like I said, I have to be just in the right mood for it. It's a good song. It's not a great song. Next song on the album is Crows on a Wire, and this is a great, just kind of hard-hitting song. It's about like it's very, the point of view of the song is very interesting. It's like, if you want to be famous, if you want to be a star, if you want to be in the spotlight, kind of beware, because these are the things that can happen to you, and these are the people that will come for you. It kind of reminds me of like the paparazzi, like kind of like you want to be famous, but like once you get famous, you kind of realize that, around every corner people are like looking for you to kind of make a mistake. Your life isn't as private as it once was. Like kind of paparazzi waiting like crows on a wire to either kind of catch you at your worst moment, moments that you wish people didn't see, or media blowing things out of proportion or whatever. Lyrically, it's a very good song, and musically, Miles offers once again a very um, emotional kind of solo. It's very good, given the musical heaviness. Miles is a very kind of emotional soloist, so it's a very good song, very very solid song. Next song on the album is Twilight. Sorry, I keep having to defer to my list, but I don't want to miss any tracks. Twilight. This is a song that it took me a while to get into. I always thought it was a bit too happy, especially the intro. But once I got into it, I liked it. I don't really like how Miles says Twilight. He just kind of uses that nasally snarl, to kind of not in the best way. But it's a good song. I really like the bridge. Hoping for what hasn't come. It's a very good. It's a very good song. Musically it's okay, and I don't like how Miles says Twilight. But other than that, it's a pretty good song. It's not one of my favorites, but still very listenable, still very good. Next song on the album is called Island of Fools, and wow, the I believe Miles is kind of playing the faded, like the very first riff that you hear, and then Mark comes in with like this. It's still kind of like it revs you up, but in like a different way than like the very first riff, and then the riff just hits you. It's like one of the heaviest things that I've ever heard. It's a it's a very good riff, and like the riff is like separated into two parts. It's like the chugging riff, and then it's like his fingers are. I'm not a guitar player, so his fingers are kind of like going all over the fretboard. You've got the really heavy trudgy riff, and then you've got his fingers kind of moved on the fretboard. It's kind of a two-part riff. It's very interesting, and like it's very heavy, but still like the second part of the riff is still very like nice, and it flows well. It's a very very good riff, and every time I just hear that riff, it just makes me happy. It's a very good song. Just lyrically, it's very good, but yeah, musically it's fantastic. I love it. All right, so the last song on the album is the title track, Last Hero, and it's the big epic closer, kind of like how they did in Fortress. It's this song kind of, not only does it just wrap up the album, but it just, everything that I like about this album, it's everything into one song. It's kind of the bookend for Show Me a Leader. It's kind of like, I don't want to call it Show Me a Leader Part 2, but they're kind of very similar in nature lyrically, and it's the perfect way to end the album. Yeah, it's progressive. It's kind of like it takes you to like, where you don't expect the song to go. Kind of like Last Side of Fate, where it just kind of changes musical direction in a good way. It's very, very, it just takes this very heavy direction, and it's just like, damn, okay. Like the little in the intro and then in the bridge, what Scott's doing on the drums. It literally sounds like a, war drum. You kind of can picture like the drummer boy in front of like the army that's marching. Very good. You can just kind of see that picture, and then like, in the intro, the dogs are out for blood. It does a very good job painting a picture. It's very progressive. It's very everything that I love about this album into one song. It's very, very good, and it's definitely worthy of being the title track of the album. So to wrap up, final thoughts. This is it's very much a logical progression of Fortress. It sounds like this should be the next album after Fortress. And as far as kind of their side projects getting in the way, as far as like the music suffering, I really don't think that it does. A lot of people will say differently, and a lot of people kind of dislike this album for that reason. I don't really see it. I think it's, like I said, it's a very logical progression. The music's there, the lyrics are there, the progressiveness on Fortress carried over to this album in the best way. And yeah, I just think it's a fantastic album. So that pretty much wraps up my thoughts. This video is probably a little too long, but whatever. So thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay safe out there. Stay healthy during all this lockdown stuff, and God bless you guys. Bye bye.